Welcome to the Kratom Sobriety podcast. This is episode 156, and this is Charlie, and I'm sitting with Jacob tonight. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Charlie. How about you? It's been a while.
It has been a while. We were just looking at our calendars. It might be up to 6 months since we didn't open together or more.
Yeah, you're the master coordinator behind the scenes these days, so we don't
Yeah.
get to see you on the mic very much.
Yeah, I did go through a period where I was a little estranged from this podcast. I guess every experience has different phases. And I did go through a period where I just wasn't feeling the vibe. I don't see myself as a social media influencer. And I definitely, internally, I wasn't feeling like a guru. Not that anybody interprets me in that way, but I was like, I don't have anything interesting to say. Half my advice I barely can follow myself. And
Yeah,
so I'm very grateful that you especially helped drive this train for many months, and then Libby and Nolan and now Lily. It's great that there's other people that have stepped up to keep it going.
yeah, it's super helpful to have a group of people that you can rely on when you need some time down or whatever's
Yeah.
going on.
Today we have an interview that Lily did with Violet, and somehow that they know each other in real life pre the podcast. And it's interesting that they intersected here online talking about kratom addiction. So we'll have that interview for everybody after we have a little talk about a topic that Jacob selected.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I don't know too many people in real life that have got on the Kratom train. Yeah, I had a topic for today. Maybe it'll be a little lighthearted. I was thinking about this over the past couple weeks, and it's more of a question maybe than a topic. And it was, would you have tried kratom had it been illegal, and but you could source it easily, and you wouldn't theoretically like face any legal consequences? Like that was out of the equation. I was just thinking about all my experience in my using days with various drug dealers and how some of those experiences were like weird, where you'd go get a bag of weed or something and the guy would be like, hang out for an hour, let's play video games and smoke a joint. And you're like, I just want to get on with my day. I don't, this is a business transaction, man. Or other waiting in that parking lot for 4 hours for the dope man to show up because he said he was going to be there and doesn't really value your time because he just think you're a junkie, all that fun stuff. My answer to the question is I don't think I would have, because at the point in my life where I used kratom, I wasn't really using any illegal drugs at that point. I just quit my alcohol problem, and I hadn't used a lot of illegal substances in a long time. So I don't think I would have tried it if it was illegal. But since it was legal and readily available, it was quite easy to try and ultimately get hooked on since it's so readily available. What about you?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think there's three ways people get into kratom. There's a certain number of folks that find out on the internet, and often they have like pain or some other kind of symptoms they're trying to resolve, and they do research and you discover it through some kind of online research. And then there's another group of people that are like word of mouth. A buddy or a family member recommends it or gives them a little packet. And then there's another third, and this is non scientific. It was like me, that just I was at a store and it was on the counter, and that's how I tried it. And I never did any research about kratom. And the first couple times I tried it, I thought it was like one of those fake
Yeah.
pills because it didn't have any effect. But I did eventually try the extracts, which were way more potent. And then I was like, oh, wow, that really packs a punch. So probably I would not have tried it if it wasn't legal and accessible and just right in front of me. And it was similar to weed was illegal in my state for many years. And then just in the last 5 years, it became legal. And when weed was illegal, I didn't seek it out. I probably could have
Yeah.
maybe found it somewhere. But once it was legal, I did go through a little period where I tried pot, and then I relearned my experience from my college days that it makes me paranoid and I don't have a good experience with it. So I have walked away from it.
Yeah. I hear that. Yeah, it's interesting because alcohol's the most deadly drug in the world, just not because it kills people quickly, just because it's accessible everywhere and it's culturally ingrained in society.
Yeah.
As much as prohibition doesn't work, I do think easy access does make addiction more prevalent just because easy access to it, it's like smoking, right? If with cigarettes, there was all those taxes that really came out in the late 90s through today where, I don't know, cigarettes were like dirt cheap when I was a kid in the 80s, from what I remember. And I remember even in the 90s, I was never a smoker, but just like looking in the store, like the price is five, six, seven, eight. I don't know how many times what it used to be. And that had a huge effect on smoking rates, along with all the research and stuff that came out. But and even in the state I live in now, there's like a lot of restrictions on flavored vapes and stuff like that because they're trying to prevent kids from using nicotine. And there's some evidence that's actually been a bit of a deterrent.
Yeah, I think tobacco in my lifetime is a profound change in public perception and use. Like when I was in high school, the seniors had a smoking patio because at 18 you could smoke. The
Oh
teacher still
wow.
had a smoking lounge, but even in those 4 years, they had eliminated the smoking patio for seniors. And then in my state, they reined in smoking with indoor smoking laws, and there was no more smoking at bars and stuff. And when that happened, along with the taxes and then the public health messaging saying that smoking was bad, there has been like it seemed like half of the population smoked it's tobacco, and then now it's maybe 1 in 5 or something.
Yeah.
It's an example of a legal drug that through some policy changes, and there is the secondhand smoke factor that affects non-smokers where at this point there isn't a secondhand smoke factor in terms of kratom. It is your personal use. That there isn't a, and it's the same thing with drunk driving.
Yeah, it's very hard to compare, kratom to
Yeah,
something
but
tobacco smoke.
if there isn't a secondary population affected by kratom, we might be stuck in this debate about personal use and responsibility versus the public good and what's the best policy. But I do think some restricting access to it and changing the public messaging about it. I don't want to demonize it, but it's definitely not universally a medicine and a good thing for people.
There's 2 things with information that are both good and bad. Like, one is, like, still a lot of people don't even know what kratom is, so, like, by getting the word out there, you're probably inevitably gonna pull some people in that probably wouldn't have tried it just because they don't even know about it yet, and they're like, "Oh, a cheap," not necessarily cheap depending on what you buy, but a legal high at least, maybe I'll go try that. And then there's the people that maybe have heard of it, are already thinking of trying it, but maybe they have previous addictions or other reasons that maybe they'd give pause to trying it if they knew some of the negative things that, you know, could happen. Not saying that everybody obviously is going to get addicted to kratom and have a problem with it. No, people, it just varies based on your own personal addictive tendencies and how you use it, why you use it, etc. But yeah, I think it would be interesting to compare like usage rates in states that have illegal kratom versus legal kratom. And I would venture a guess that if you could get an accurate picture of usage, you'd probably see less usage in states where you can't just walk into a store and buy it just because of the accessibility issue you were talking about earlier.
Yeah. Recently, kratom has been banned in Louisiana and Connecticut. And then in Rhode Island, had a ban and that was reversed. So this year, there's still one more state that has a ban. And I don't think it's just like these evil legislatures that want to take away people's freedom. There's some signals and that kratom causes problems. And the industry doesn't know how to message about it. And there's just some unresolved science about the deaths that are related to kratom and as well as the addiction. And just we don't have a good way to deal with how to on a policy level how to deal with it yet.
Yeah, it's complex and very varied, and there's a whole history of prohibition in the US and Western society and the world in general. And there's a little bit of backlash against that. And in certain cases, and in other cases, with super strong drugs like fentanyl, there's even more push to stamp it out. So it's all over the map. It's a very complex
Yeah.
and varied issue for sure.
And if you're a family member that had one of your relatives die from a kratom related death, I definitely have a lot of empathy for you. And I can see why you want to see the substance banned.
Yeah, totally.
And those family members are just not some evil people trying to take people's freedoms away, but just it's a complicated issue. Anyway, I'm glad this podcast is here. If you want to quit kratom,
Definitely.
it's probably going to remain accessible and legal in most of America in the near future. It is possible to get off this stuff. It's been 2.5 years since I started the podcast. I'm feeling pretty normal. I do not have cravings for kratom anymore. And I don't ever think about it other than when it's time to do something for this podcast. So at one point, it was controlling my life, spending $100 a day. So it's possible. As all of our hosts have demonstrated.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. And yeah, if you're struggling, there's all kinds of resources now, including this podcast, and you can do it. And we encourage you to do it.
All right. We ran a little long, but here's the interview with Lily. Thanks for listening.
Cool.
My name is Lily, and I'm here today with Violet. We have two flowers in the studio today. Violet, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Yay. To flower power.
So, can you tell listeners where you're from and your age and what you do for a living?
Yeah. So my name's Violet. I'm 37 years old. I live in Mount Shasta, California, and I am an on-site seamstress and stylist for weddings.
That's so cool. And what do you like to do in your free time if you're not busy with all these weddings? It's probably most of your weekends.
Yeah, I know. I was like looking at that question, like, well, I'm kind of a workaholic, like most self-employed people. But no, and where I live is like we have all the seasons. So in the summertime, I really just enjoy going to the river. We're at the head of the Sac up here, and there's beautiful lakes and all sorts of mountain lakes around here. So I got two dogs, and I just like to go hang out by the river and do some hikes. And I have about an acre of property that I've spent the last 3 years building and working on, so I've been definitely enjoying that as well this summer. And in the winter time, in my off season, I enjoy snowboarding and snow blowing my driveway. And yeah, I love to travel and yeah,
That's
do
awesome.
yoga, all that good stuff.
Sounds like you're really busy and active and lots of stuff to do, and you live in a mountain town like that.
Yeah, oh yeah, I know it's interesting as we get into it, but I'm already a very hyperactive person, so it was interesting how the kratom really juiced that up, and then I kind of feel like fully robbed me of all of it at the end. So
Oh, yeah.
but yeah, no, I'm an energetic person. I feel very grateful for that.
That's great. Same here. So, what is your kratom abstinence date?
November 26th, 2024.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Great.
Yeah, so a little
So, do you
over
remember?
6 months.
Okay. That's great. 6 months. Yeah. I mean, 6 months is a big spot in sobriety. It's a big milestone. I know a lot of people tend to, it's really common to fall back into addictive patterns around that 6 month mark. The pull gets strong. So, I'm really glad you made it through that and keep going.
Yeah, thank you. I'm making it through. But
You
yes, I
are.
feel
You
all those
are.
things. Yeah.
Yep. It's common. Do you remember how and when you were first exposed to kratom? Like the first time you heard about it or saw it or bought it? Maybe it was all at once or maybe it was spread out. Like, how did that come up for you?
Yeah, it was actually pretty spread out looking back on it. Like I've been back and forth from Shasta for the last like 11 years, but when I was first living up here, I was growing cannabis and really into that whole world. And I feel like with that just comes a lot of all the new age hippies and all the plant medicines and stuff. So I feel like it was around 2018 when I first heard about it. I had friends that were using it. I remember them talking about it, but I didn't, never crossed my path since then. And then I was living up in Ashland, Oregon, and I been on and off a pretty heavy cannabis and tobacco smoker. I like to roll the spliffs, and I was weaning myself off of that and doing the like herbal blend. And I was in the smoke shop where I bought my rolling papers, and I think I was just waiting for another customer to be helped and like just awkwardly looking at the other things that they had, and I saw this white bag that said white Borneo on it. And, so when it came up to my chance at the counter, I just asked the lady, I was like, oh, what's this? And she's like, oh, that's Kratom. And I'm like, what's Kratom? And she told me that. And it's weird looking back on it because she actually did seem a little reserved. Like, I wouldn't say she was like, yeah, it's great. You should try this. She was like, yeah, some people say it's euphoric. Some people say it's energy. There's different strains. I think the white gives you a little more energy. She's like, but some people find it relaxing. And I was like, okay. And she's like, I was like, have you tried it? She's like, no. I was like, oh well, fuck it. I'll get some. Why not? Trying to kill all the vices. Might as well try something new. And so I bought it. It was like 10.95. It was just like this white bag with like a sticker that said white Bruneo 10.95. And I brought it home, and I think I looked it up online, and I did see some mixed reviews. Like, initially it was like part of this evergreen family, euphoria, whatever. But then I did see some things that were like, it can be addictive, blah, blah, blah. And honestly, I didn't research anymore. I threw it in the pantry and didn't ever like it was there, but I never was like pulled to take it. I had a lot going on in my life at that time, and my now husband, but at the time weren't married, had started having seizures out of nowhere the year before, and so that's kind of what led me to get off the weed and all this stuff. But I was just kind of, I had a lot going on in my life. I wasn't really exploring mind altering things. I was just needing to be in a space of clarity, So I had that in my pantry for a while. We moved, lived in a different house. I still had it in this drawer, and then it was the summer of 2021 that I first tried it. I had a friend come up for Ecstatic Dance, and she was like, "Oh, can I get a glass? Like, I want to mix a kratom." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I have some of that stuff. Like, I still haven't tried it." I pulled out the bag, and she's like, it's so funny how I'm such a hoarder in some ways. I just hold on to stuff. I'm like, well, I paid $10 for it, so maybe I'll use it someday. But yeah, I was like, "Oh, what does it do for you?" She's like, and she doesn't drink either, so she's like, "Oh, it just gives me a little energy, like a little euphoria. I don't know. You want to try one?" I was like, "Sure." And I just never forget mixing it in the glass. It's all chunky and like the
Yeah,
powder just not mixing
gross.
in. I think she just did like a small spoonful, it wasn't a lot. But chugged it down, was like, "That tastes gross. Okay, whatever, moving on." And went to E-Dance, and like a lot of people have said on the podcast, I didn't feel anything that I remember the first time. I think maybe it was the stimulation of just going to the E-Dance. Like, I'm a pretty extrovert, so in social situations, I'm like out there on the dance floor talking to people anyway. So I don't remember any like initial feeling, and then didn't do it again until a year later, the summer of 2022.
Oh my
And
gosh. Just spread out.
yes,
That's interesting. Huh.
yeah, some
Okay.
things creep in a weird way. But so then, we had kind of leveled out with all the seizure stuff. I think my husband had finally found some medication. We tried all this herbal stuff, nothing was working, but everything was leveling out. We moved back to Shasta into our house, and he does construction. He was working on this job with like a crew of 5 guys and some, friends of ours and stuff, and it was really close to our house, so they were coming and having lunch at the house every day. And the nature of my work, I'm gone usually on the weekends, but during the week I work from home, so I'm usually around. And I'd pull out all the sandwich stuff and they'd come in and chat with the guys, but then sneak away and let them do their thing. But they were started making these kratom drinks, and it was like, group of guys anyways, like, oh god, too much. But I'd go hang out, and finally one day I was like, "What's this kratom drink?" Like, "Oh yeah, I think I tried it, but like, what does it do for you?" And yeah, my friend who I first tried it with at the E-Dance, it was her husband. He was there, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll make you one." Like, he's like, "I don't know, like, it's kinda weird because if you take too much, it'll make you feel nauseous. For me, if you just take a little bit, it gives me a little energy." He's like, "It's weird. It's, like, calming and energizing at the same time." And I was like, "Okay." And I remember him kind of being, like, straightforward with me. He's like, "Yeah, I'll take it. Like, I can't take it before 11. It makes me super nauseous. I can't take it on an empty stomach, but, like, then I can't take it after I eat." It was kind of this weird, like, messes with your stomach thing. I was like, "Okay."
Uh-huh.
So I had it that day, and they all went to work, and I don't specifically remember, like, that day, like, "Ah, this is amazing," but I'm pretty sure it gave me some energy, and from there on, I kind of was, experimenting with it, and they were doing it every day. I think I was doing it here and there. I had other friends that had done it and tried it that kinda, like, warned me, were like, "Yeah, I don't know, like, some people I know take it, like, way too much, and, like, they take it every day, and, like, I think it's good to take breaks." And I was like, "Okay." So I felt like I had a good grip on experience with addiction and stuff with other things, so I tried to keep myself in check, and I was like, I'd take it for, like, 3 days and then be like, "Okay, I need to take 3 days off." And at that point, I was trying it, like, once a day, so then I think it really ramped up by the end of that year, end of 2022. I was doing it pretty regularly, again, taking some breaks in between, just trying to be discerning. And my husband and I went to Hawaii in January 2023, and or sorry, yeah, 2023, the
Mhm.
timeline, man. And
Yeah.
we were staying with some other friends there. They did ecstatic dance on the property. It was a cool little commune kind of place. And I was making some, not every day, but like right before the E-Dance, and I was like, "Oh, you guys want one?" And they're like, "Nah, like I don't really mess with that shit anymore." And that was kind of it. But feel like I only say that because I feel like I had kind of warning signs leading up to it where I was like, huh, like some people are like, "Yeah, no, I'm cool off that." And I was like, okay, whatever. Like I'm taking it, gives me energy, makes
Yeah.
me super chatty, and
Yeah.
then yeah, so that was the beginning.
Definitely. And just for listeners, E-Dance or ecstatic dance is a type of event that's dancing, and it's a sober dance event. It's held all throughout the world, and it's usually like 2 or 3 hours long, and it's a guided dance experience, but the whole point is that it's a sober dance experience. And it's funny because you probably thought did you think that you were sober when you were taking it? Like, what were your thoughts on that?
Oh
Because I thought
yeah.
I was. I thought I was. Yeah.
Well, like, I don't want to lie. I've always known because I quit drinking alcohol in 2014, and I was still using cannabis, and I've had a lot of addiction in my family. I mean, I started drinking when
Mhm.
I was 13, had my stomach pumped
Mhm.
by the time I was 14. So I really I'd gone to AA meetings. Like I knew this oh, I didn't know they called it California sober actually until I started listening to this podcast, but you know,
Ah!
I knew that smoking weed wasn't actually being fully sober, or doing any I don't know. I think in my gut I knew it wasn't sober, but I think that's what's also really interesting is it is a lot of people who quit alcohol fall into this kratom thing, and that's just, I mean, across the board, that is a pattern, right?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
yeah, long answer, but yes, I didn't think that I was under the influence of anything.
So you're going to these ecstatic dances, you're going to these sober dances, and you have your little supplement. You think it's a supplement, and everyone's saying, "Oh no, I don't mess with that stuff." It's too bad they didn't give a good reason why. That would have been helpful. Like, oh yeah, my friend got really addicted, or oh, this is what I noticed happening. That would have been helpful to give an example instead of no thanks.
Yeah,
Yeah, maybe people don't want to, harp on your parade or something, especially in those like open-minded communities. Sometimes you just want to say yes to everything and not shame anyone for anything, but more information is better.
totally.
That's why we're on here, because we're talking about it, because people
Yeah. Yeah,
know.
and I think I you hit something on the head there. I think in the, like, quote unquote conscious community, there's this like aspect of no judgment. And I mean, that could be a whole nother podcast just talking about like it's not a drug, it's a medicine. And like I've honestly come full circle to where I'm like, those words are synonymous. Like drugs are medicine, medicines are drugs. And I think that,
Yeah.
again, whole nother podcast there. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't hold it against any of my friends for not, they've watched me go through a lot of stuff, and
Yeah.
they also know how stubborn I am, and I probably wouldn't have listened to them anyways. So
Ah,
I respect
that's
that.
funny. I know, it's true. It's like we do have to go on our own journey. Um, so it sounds like there's been addiction in your family and you've had struggles in the past. So alcohol and then cannabis, and you said also smoking cigarettes?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was kind
Yeah.
of I went to Europe when I was 18 and learned about the spliff, and I was
Ah,
hooked after that. So I never was really like a straight up cigarette smoker, but I blended the weed and the tobacco.
okay. So you have experienced like what it feels like to be addicted or dependent on something. You felt that feeling before. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I totally rationalized the tobacco and the cannabis for a really, really long time. Finally,
Sure.
yeah. So
Yeah. Okay.
that,
So you felt the pull of addiction. You're aware of that from the past, and you're starting to use the kratom more often, maybe every day for a while. You said it started to ramp up.
yeah, I'd say it started to ramp up really after that trip to Hawaii. And I'm trying to remember because we did 2 trips. I think on that trip, that was it. We stayed at the one place, and, I did it a little bit there. It wasn't, and all the while, I will say, I kind of left this out, but during that time when the guys were using it, my husband was never been into like any kind of, he's like a cannabis smoker and has his own things with that, but everything else he's like very he's aware of himself. And
Okay.
they had a whole falling out with all these guys. Like they completed the job, but it didn't end well with all of them. And he was like, dude, everyone was just doing too much kratom. It was making everybody crazy. And like, I just don't
Oh,
know. Like, I'm just not into, I don't like the way it makes me feel. And so I think that's why it kind of took a while for me. I was like, well, like, I'm different than him. Like, whatever. Again, just my own rationalization so that I could feel good about myself looking back
right.
on it. Um,
Yeah. Like, oh, that's
but,
them.
yeah, that's them, not me. I'm different than him, blah, blah, blah. And I definitely hid it from him. I wasn't like, he knew it was still in the cabinet, but I wasn't like fully taking it in front of him all the time. So it also kept me in control, I think, for a little while because I knew that I had his judgment kind of placed on me, and he wasn't
Mm,
super into it. So I was like, okay, I got to keep this in check because he's going to be riding my ass about that later. So yeah,
concerned.
when
Okay.
when we came to the Hawaii thing, took it a little. He took some on that trip too, like a little bit, but then we returned. Winter passed, and we decided we got engaged. We had been together for 10 years, but we decided, okay, let's get married. Set the date and decided to do the wedding at our house, and so that kind of put into motion this whole idea of like redoing our whole property and just tons of work, you know? So, not as that's an excuse, but part of that was like the catalyst, you know? Like my job is really stressful, high pressure. I got to perform, I got to look good, feel good, be energetic and smiling and working at these really luxury events and stuff, and then
Yeah.
come home in between and bust out full on construction, you know, planting a whole this whole thing. So, man, I started ramping up with that, and you know, before I knew it, it was like, okay, you know, I knew the timeline. My friend had said, okay, 11 o'clock, don't take it. I don't know why in my head I was like, don't take it before 11. So it was like, I never took it before 11. And I also was like, well, I don't want my stomach to hurt. So I'm going to do these 3 hours. So I think you talked about it in the last one too. It's like, as soon as you start getting on this little routine, I have my schedule. I know what I'm doing. I'm in control. No, that's
Yeah.
total addict behavior, but whatever.
Yep.
So I had my 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock, and then it changed
Okay.
11 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock. And I kept that up for a while. And then by the winter of 2023, I guess, maybe fall, winter, I started going to the gym with one of my friends, and she kind of had more of a 9 to 5 job. And she's like, I really want to get into the gym. Like, I'm a super active person. So she's like, I'd love you to like motivate me and come help me work out, but I can only go at 5 a.m. before work. And I was like, okay,
Oh.
I can do this, you know, like, but I'm over here, like, I work from home. I don't need to wake up that early. So I started getting up early doing this with her. And one morning I was like, dragging ass. I'm so tired. And I was like, I'm going to make a kratom. Maybe this will boost up my workout. So I started
Oh
taking
no.
it at 5 a.m. And man,
Ah.
it all
Oh
went
God.
downhill from there because
Oh no.
then I was like, oh, my stomach doesn't hurt. I could have a cup of coffee and a kratom and go to the gym and I'm good to go. And then I'm going to come
Damn.
home and take it at 11. And then I'm going to take my maybe 2 o'clock. And then it was like, so, you know, I was all amped up, man. I got so much stuff done in the beginning because I was just like, go, go, go. And
Yeah.
oddly, I have all these friends around here that are all like, oh, my nervous system and healing. I'm like, I don't even know what you guys are talking about. You guys are just hippies in your own little world. Everyone's so sensitive. I'm like, we need to get shit done. And I don't know. I went there. And so then I had no idea what I got myself into until we
Okay.
took another trip to Hawaii. Our different friends live on 2 different islands there. And I got a wedding there. So I went and worked this wedding and I work with my mom. And so my mom and I are working this wedding and we decide, okay, we're going to extend the trip, go do this trip with my husband, her husband, they're going to come meet us and then we'll go see our friends. So, you know, I had brought and people have talked about all that. Like I was doing the whole travel thing. Oh, I had my system down. Like I had the little tiny mason jar. I'd do my 2 I only did the powder. I did try the
Yeah.
capsules later, but I did my 2 flat teaspoons, never more than that in one dose. So I know it sounds like some people take a lot at once, but I was just doing the 2 teaspoons at once. And then I'd squeeze a little lime or anything I could add in to like make it taste a little better and shake it in my little jar and just chug it, you know, like a little
Mhm.
shot. So get it over with,
Mhm.
right? And you know, yeah, I'd be traveling with it. One time at the airport, they're like, "What's this?" I'm like, "Oh, it's just a green powder. It's a green drink." And the guy at the TSA was just like, "Oh, sorry." Like, well, can I keep my jar? So he just like dumped it out for me and gave me my jar back. Like it wasn't even crazy. And I'm like, "Oh, well, if it's I don't whatever." Anyway, so go on the
Yeah.
trip, do the job. Everything went well. They showed up, my husband and my stepdad, and we end up doing the road to Hana and all that stuff, and I ran out, and I didn't even think about it. I wasn't, like, planning, "Okay, I gotta have enough for this whole thing," and that night, I think I ran out in the morning, and I was like, "Oh, whatever, maybe it's a good thing, like, I've been taking too much of this crap anyway," and I could not sleep all night long, and I remember my husband's over there like,
Oh.
"Quit moving," and I was, like, moving, and, like, my legs were, like it wasn't, like, the full-on restless leg, but I guess, yeah, and I was just like, I don't know, I'm tripping out, man. I couldn't sleep at all last night, and it definitely hit me like, "This isn't right." When I've
Yeah.
quit smoking weed cold turkey, yeah, maybe I don't feel like eating for, like, a day, but it's pretty quick to get over that, and this was, like, a whole 'nother thing, but, I made it through, like, 4 days, I think, went by, we finished our little journey, and then my husband and I went up and met up with our friends, and we roll up to the beach, and lo and behold, this is the first couple, the chick and her husband that I had first tried it with, they
Uh,
bust out this little bag of the capsules. And I was
oh.
like, "Oh, what's that?" And they're like, "Oh, like, yeah, do you want some kratom?" And I was like, "Oh, no way." I was like, "I didn't know you guys are still doing that." I'm like, "Sure." And I'm like, "I've never taken the capsules. I didn't even know they made them like that." And they're like, "Oh, yeah, it's just easier and whatever." I'm like, "How many do you take?" 3. Okay, so I took 3, and then they gave me a little baggie, and we hung out with them for, like, a week. So I was kinda taking them with them throughout the week, and then as soon as I had the opportunity, there was a little smoke shop, and I just went in and was like, "Hey, do you guys have kratom capsules?" And they're like, "Oh, yeah." I was like, "Cool." Bought a bottle of those, and then I was like, "Wait, this is way easier to travel with," So then I got onto that, and that was like then it was just every day, anytime I was traveling or with my mom doing the wedding thing, I just had my, like, bottle of capsules and was taking 3 at a time, who knows how many times throughout the day, because I feel like
Okay.
they were a lot more subtle, and I
Yeah.
definitely didn't feel that, like, kinda euphoric buzz from them, which I was like, "Oh, this is good. Maybe this is gonna help me, like, not take so much." And, that was a lie, whatever. Then I got back home and went back to the powder, and I've always been a pretty, like, conservative, like, cheap ass, so I never went I've never still to this day, I've never seen these extracts. I've never seen the bottles, and glad I never came across that, but yeah, so fell
Okay.
into that pattern, and then I mean, I guess I could just go full on. I know I'll answer some of the other questions,
Go for
but,
it. Yeah, I mean,
um
you're getting to the point where you went to the pills, the powder and the pills, and then back to the powder, and you went 4 days without, and you noticed, like, maybe restless legs, but you couldn't sleep. So, was that kind of an aha moment of, "Oh, shit, maybe this is an addiction?" Did you have that thought?
Yeah,
Okay.
that was the first, but I still kinda brushed it aside
Uh-huh.
because quickly after that, then I was back with my friends who just made me feel like, "Oh, cool, well, everyone else is doing this. They don't drink, they're sober from alcohol, like,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with this," you know? So,
Okay.
I just made the concessions and validated it in my mind,
Mhm.
and let's see, then came back, went full on into wedding season and really prepping for the wedding and was doing tons of work at the house. And I think a few times, like people have said, I was ordering it online in
Yeah.
bags, and like I didn't do any research. My friends who had introduced me to it were like, "Oh yeah, this is where I get it." They sent me a link, and that was the only place I bought it from. I was like, "Cool, whatever." Like I didn't explore any. I just wasn't very curious. Looking back, I'm like, "What an idiot," but whatever.
Aw.
So, I'd buy the big bag, and then I'd be near the end and I'd be like, "You know what? I'm not gonna buy any more after this. Like, I'm just gonna try and see what happens." And then I'd make it one day, and then the next morning be like, "Okay, like, I'm sure I can get it somewhere in town." And that's when I found out there was a head shop in town that I could go buy it from. And so I was doing that, but then I was like, it's a little more expensive there. So I went back to buying it online. And And then I ran out again. I think this was maybe around June, I wanna say, of 2024, and I ran out, and it was also this weird thing because I was, like, hiding it from, my, at the time, fiancé. I didn't want he'd come home and be like, "Did you take kratom today?" And be like, "No." He's like, "Don't lie." I'm like, "Okay, I took a little bit." And he's like, "Dude, it kinda," and that's where it started coming out, like, I don't know, like,
Mm.
he was turned off by it. He's like, "It just makes you kinda weird, and I can tell you're all hyper," and he's just sensitive to that stuff. He's had a lot of
Okay.
addiction stuff in his family, And he was starting to call me out for it, you know? And so that's where I was like, okay, well, I can't let him know how much I'm taking because then he's really going to be like, what the hell? So yeah, I was full on hiding it and the amounts, you know, he knew I was taking it a little bit, but definitely had no idea as how much. And I ran out and it was like we had 3 days off together and we were just going to go full on into project mode. And I was like, I can't just leave and be like, I need to go run an errand really quick. So it's like, he'd be like, where are you going? So I was like, whatever, I'm going to stop now. This is the day. And I had no energy. All day, I was like, what is wrong? I'm so tired. Like, I have no energy. I had to like force myself. And then that night, I went and slept in the guest bed because it was like full on restless legs, full on detox. And that's when I knew I was like, oh shit, this is real and this is happening. And like,
Yeah.
oh my God, like, what did I get myself into, you know?
Yeah.
So the next chance I had, I went and bought some more because I was like, well, I don't have time to deal with this right now. Like, I'm dependent on this. And I just didn't think about it. I didn't even take a breath to think about it. I just was like, keep going.
Mm.
So went back to taking it. But that's when I was like, okay, this is real. And then the head shop in town I was buying it from, they were selling it in these little, like, they must have been getting it in a huge bulk because they were selling it in like dosed out little plastic Ziploc bags. And he's like, you want the $15 one or the $30 one? And I was like, whatever. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, this feels like so wrong, but whatever. And I'd go
Yeah.
talk to the guy. He was super chill and had his little dogs in there. And one day he wasn't in there and his wife was there instead. And I was like trying to make small talk with her. And I was like, oh, yeah, I just want to get a little bag of Kratom. And she treated me like I was a drug addict and she was not
Oh.
friendly and not nice. I was like, oh, yeah, I always see your husband. And she's like, what do you want?
Oh my
Okay, here you
God.
go, $15. And I was like, and I walked out of there like, why is she like, what are you doing, Violet? Like, this is look at the writing on the wall. Like, you started feeling sick. This lady's treating you like I felt like a junkie, you know? I was like,
Mhm.
this is weird that somebody's like kind of treating me like I don't know, it kicked in like she must be seeing people come in here day to day like "Ah, I gotta get my grade. I'm like fiending, you know?
Yeah.
And that's just when it made me
Yeah.
feel dirty and gross and I have an ego too, like everybody else, and that's what really I was like, "Ew, I feel gross about this, like, what the hell?" You know? But continued on because I was like, "I just gotta get through this year." It was the biggest wedding season I've ever had. It was like my career was, like, at this precipice, and I'm getting married, and I'm remodeling my whole property. I got 120 people coming, like, "Oh my god." And I was like, "Just I'm gonna deal with it later." So, really the end of the road came actually at my wedding, you know, and all of our friends came into town. I went and bought this giant bag and everyone was kind of taking it, you know, it was like full on friend group work party. Everyone's just helping us make this wedding event happen and we were making kava. All the Hawaiians were there. We had the kava set up. We had the little kratom station, you know, the little I don't know, electrolyte mix that you could mix with the kratom so it doesn't taste so gross. And my friend was like, "Whoa, you're like full on going there, huh?" And I just looked at him and I was like, "I think I'm fucking addicted to this stuff." Like, I think it's actually
Oh.
pretty bad, but like I just can't deal with it right now, so I'm just gonna keep going. And he was like, "I've been there, and when you're ready to talk about it, I'm totally happy to share what I know and what my experience
Oh.
was." And I was
Whoa.
like, "Whoa," and I was like, "Okay, cool. Thank you." And so went on with the day. Surprisingly, on my wedding day, I actually was so busy and involved. I think I took it like 2 times that day and felt pretty great actually. So that was cool.
Mm.
It didn't part of me regrets it because I'm like, was I fully present? I mean, getting married is a very overwhelming thing anyway. Still the best day of my life. I had an amazing time, but I have a really cool group of friends, even though maybe people make concessions. We all allow ourselves on our own journey. We've all watched each other go through a lot. And it
Yeah.
was pretty cool for my one friend to say that to me. So I leaned
Yeah.
into it. A few days later, I was like, yeah, I want to talk about it. What do you know? And he just shared his story, and he was doing the same thing, tried to do this level. He had his controlled dosages, and what really hit me, what he said, he's like, everything it gave to me, it took away at the end. He's
Yep.
like, the energy, the mood, the talking to everybody, it took it all back, and it will
Yep.
take it all back. So prepare yourself for that. So I do feel like the positive thing was, by the end, I had a lot of people telling me what to expect, and that it wasn't going to be easy, and that it wasn't going to be easy. And so I kind of made this plan in my mind, like, okay, wedding season, I don't think I'm going to be able, I got to go to work and perform, and I'm the boss kind of. So I was like, okay, I'm going to wait till wedding season's over, and Mountain Shasta winters are pretty bleak. There's nothing going on. Everybody retreats. And I was like, I'm just going to, I have no work for 3 months. I'm like, I'm going to use that time to detox, and just, I'm going to do it then. And the last wedding I worked, I was making the kratom, and one of my friends works with me sometimes in the van right before we went in. And she's like, oh man, you're really going hard on that kratom stuff. You better watch it. And I was like, why'd you say that? And she's like, I've seen what it does to people, Violet, and you need to be careful with that shit. And, it was just, I had these messages kind of coming at the end that was like a blessing, the angels were looking out for me. And so that helped me really get real with
Good.
myself, finally come clean to my husband, and sit down and be like, hey, I'm doing this way more than I told you I'm doing it. And I have a plan. I'm going to taper off. I'm going to start it this time. And I got back from
Okay.
that last wedding, and I was like, okay, I looked at the calendar. I'm like, I chat GPT'd that. And I was like, how do you taper off of, what's a good tapering way to get off of kratom? And it broke it all down
Oh,
for me. And I was like, okay. And I'm like, my birthday is December 4th. If I start this now, I can be done with this shit by my birthday, and I'm going to have a fresh start, rebirth, whatever. So I did it, and I finished, just like the week before my birthday, which I was proud of myself for doing. And
yeah.
oh my God, it was the worst. Gosh, it's been the worst. My brother died in 2014, and that was kind of a catalyst for why I quit drinking alcohol. And I have not felt this shitty since then. I was like, oh my God, I haven't felt this depression and this horrible since the my favorite person died. Like, what is that saying, So
Yeah.
yeah, it was rough. And I also went back and forth, like, after listening to this podcast, I'm like, I don't know, maybe cold turkey would have been a better way to go. Just rip off the Band-Aid, be miserable for a week, and suffer and move on. But, I did what I did. And I think that it really made me, what helped me, and this is what's helped me with, I know, with weed and cigarettes and stuff, because I did the little herbal blend, and I would just slowly reduce the amount of weed and tobacco I put in the spliffs until at the end I was just smoking like the herbal cigarettes. And so, and it, from that experience, I was like, okay, this taper thing might work for me, because it kind of makes me like hate it by the end. By the last one, you're rolling or mixing, you're just like, I don't even want to take this. I hate this. I'm done with it. Like, I slowly built up this hatred, and that's what it did. That whole month, I was just doing the scoops less and less. And that last little scoop, I was like, I don't even fucking want to take this. I hate this. I'm glad I'm done with you. Like, ugh.
Bleh.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I did it. And you actually, one of our mutual friends, I know we're both from the Napa Valley area, and she was like, knew I was going through this. And I think I was on the taper, but she was like, hey, I saw Lily post on her Instagram. She was on this like Kratom Sobriety podcast. Like, I think you should check it out, dude. This is crazy. Like, she was doing the same thing. I was like, what?
Yeah.
The yoga chick? What? And really, it's like this ego thing where you're like, I thought I was all into health and well-being and like an active, healthy person. And then kind of started
Yeah.
feeling like a drug addict. And there's a lot of shame around that, and embarrassment, and you're hiding things. And
Yeah.
it helped me. So you're the first one that I listened to, and I was like, I just started listening to this freaking podcast like religiously, and I got off drinking on my own. I did never go to AA and stuff like that, and I think there's
Mhm.
benefits to going with it. I might have helped me not be in this position, but I chose to do that on my own, and so I chose to do this on my own. But this podcast is really the only thing that I listened to and used as like a outreach, and it has
Yeah.
helped me so, so much just listening to all the different people of all the different walks of life. And so, yeah, I think thank God for you guys. Jesus, I don't know where I would be without this thing. So, and I was like, maybe it'd be helpful to be on there, but then I was like, I need to wait till I'm past this hump.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, here I am.
Well, yeah, definitely. And I mean, yeah, just quick side note. Yes, Violet and I know each other in real life off the podcast. We were involved in events together over the years. And so we've known each other. I think I'd see you maybe once a year at the summer event that we were involved in together. Same with that mutual friend. And so, yeah, both that event that we were both in is very high pace, high energy. And I've even, seen Kratom at that place. Like, it's just like when there's stuff going on and people are busting ass making events happen, it tends to come out as a thing. And it's unfortunate, that we feel like we have to artificially create energy to keep up with what's happening. There's so much pressure in the event world. And, add in getting married yourself that same year and you're a professional, like, hello, high standards. You're going to have high standards for your job and then yourself. And then, like, you can't, I don't know, you can't cut any corners when it's your own thing that you don't want to. So I'm
Yeah,
sorry
and
you
it's
felt obligated to, like, keep that energizer bunny going, but, like, I understand why that happened.
yeah, and I don't I have a hard time with the saying everything happens for a reason, but I think that we can find a lesson out of anything that does happen. I believe we have free will, and it's our choice, and everything's choices in life, right? And things come in, and it's easy to look back
Yeah.
and be like, man, if I just didn't make that choice, what would my year have looked like? I probably could have done all of that stuff still, but
Yeah.
for some reason I chose it, and now here I am, and like I am
Yeah.
learning a lot coming out of the other side, and I
Yeah.
kind of forgot to mention. I mean, I know I'm kind of going all over the place, but
You're
it
good.
did. So I made it 8 solid years with no alcohol,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I got
Wow. That's a long
I
time.
got yeah, and and I went through all the pain cloud, all the self righteousness, and all this, and I finally came to a good place. My husband had the seizures started happening like out of nowhere. He was a heavy cannabis user, and so that's what made me. I was like, I was like convinced, which I partially still am. The brain is so crazy, we just don't know enough. But I was like, I think he's having seizures because of all this weed and like whatever. So that's
Whoa.
what led me to get off the weed and the cigarette. And I was like, I got to do this. I want to for myself. Number one, I've always wanted to get off of these things for myself and nobody else, which I think is a really important factor to come to. It's like
Mhm.
it, but anyway, long story short, the best I ever felt was I think I had 6 months in that not 8 years off of everything. And I felt more clarity than I've ever felt in my adult life, and it was really beautiful. It was really hard. It sucked in so many ways in the beginning, but I came to a place of feeling so strong. And so I'm holding on to that because I know what that feels like and to just be true in the experience. And like, I went to Burning Man. I didn't do any drugs or anything. Like, I had the best time ever. I mean, I'm a
Awesome.
festival goer. I'm like, there's all of our friends are DJs. We're going to like these hippie mountain parties. And, I had some
Yeah.
of the best times of my life, like sober off of alcohol and all these other things. But
Great.
so it was hard to like swallow going back to it. So I started drinking again after taking the Kratom, and even my husband was like, "I think you could have a beer, dude. Like, just have a beer. Like, it's fine." Like, it was getting to the point where he's like, "You're super like." Like I don't know, I was getting a little neurotic, like judgy and like, sober is the only way, and he's just chill out. And I had a beer with him a few times. No big deal. Didn't fly off the
Okay.
rocker. But after the heavy Kratom use, my bachelorette party came around, this and that, and I was having some drinks. Nothing bad ever happened. I didn't totally fall off the wagon, but I've stopped all of that again because I just realized, like, what am I doing? Like, why am I making all these exceptions? That's not what I want to do. And so
Yeah.
it's just interesting. It's interesting how one thing can lead to the next, and you find yourself like, wait a minute, I just let all of my like standards go away. And like, I want to hold myself to a standard of like just being my best, and
Yeah.
yeah. So
Definitely.
anyway,
I mean, when you're taking a substance for so long. So let's see. It sounds like you were on it consistently 2022, 23, and then half of 24. Almost 3 years of use, pretty much consistent. So, that's a long time for your brain to think, "This is my neutral state," is on that substance. And so when you take it away, it's gonna fight for that neutral state again, which was with kratom use. And so when you have that drink, it still opens up that pathway in the brain that's like, "Oh, yes, this is what I remember. This is normal and safe." And so it's very normal to have that feeling of like, "Oh, I can just have this other thing again because it's better than the other thing." So it's
yeah,
also normal. And it's like, yes, standards, but your brain is just trying to go back to what it thinks is a neutral state. And so what I've learned is it takes up to 2 full years sometimes for your brain to like return to its normal baseline chemistry without any like addictive substances. And that's why a lot of new sober folks who stop drinking alcohol get pulled in because, like, within that 6-month period or so, you're really volatile and like your brain really still wants to get its hooks into something. And so it finds kratom and then it's like, "Oh, I'm good. I'm neutral again. Thanks." And then you're back to square
yeah,
one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Knowledge is
So
power, though, right?
knowledge is power, exactly. Did, did your husband, because he knew and you were kinda hiding it from him, but he kinda knew, like, did he take the news well when you finally came forward to him?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He helped me get off the alcohol. He sat me down. I had just gotten a DUI. My brother died. I kind of went on a bender, and everyone was like, "Oh, she's just going through a lot." But after my cousin was in town and we just got all mopey and depressed and had our little grieving moment and got super hammered one night, and in the morning he he was sitting there in the garage just waiting for me, and I was like, "Hey, I was working at Trader Joe's doing the 5 a.m. to 1 shift. I came home from work at 1," and he's like, "I love you, but like I can't do this. And like if you want to quit drinking, like I will do it with you, but like I can't be with you. You're amazing and you're literally your worst self on this." And so long story short, I hated myself anyway, so it was kind of the perfect. I was like, "Yes, oh my gosh, a support, like I'll take it." And then of course the next day he dumped it all out. It was in the trash can and I'm like, "Can we so wait, we're really doing this? Oh, okay. This is
Oh,
happening. Damn it."
serious.
And he held me accountable. He was a good, so he's kind of a hard ass with that. Again,
Okay.
he watched his whole family go through a lot and he kind of is one of those people that was like, "Yep, I'm not doing that because I just watched what it did to everybody else." So that's kind of, I think, the way he was with the kratom. He's like, "Yeah, I kind of had a feeling and it was affecting my libido 100%, and that was, like, one aspect of our relationship that's always been really good, and I think that all of that, there was the signs, and he knew that, so, yeah, he was like, "Okay, just, yeah, make it happen," and man, he
Yeah.
let me I think I have some really awesome friends, and they all knew I was like, okay, I'm doing this. And one of my best friends I've known since I was 4, she's like calling me, checking in with me daily, weekly, sending me little voice memos and stuff,
Good.
and just really, man, I still to this day, I'm like, thank you. Like, oh my God. And one day she's like, how's your husband doing? It was like a month and a half into being off of it. And I was like, he hasn't said anything. Like, I've literally just been sitting here on the couch, like being the biggest pile of my life. And he hasn't made me feel guilty once.
Oh,
He's just been
oh,
like,
good.
bringing me the supplements. Oh, hey, did you eat anything? Okay, you need some soup here. And I'm just like, I can't sleep. I can't eat. I just want to die. Like, don't look at me. Like, we just got married. Jesus, it's like, I'm in
Oh,
my worst place ever, and you're watching me. And he just loved me through it all. And it was, yeah, I feel really grateful that he
yeah,
saw me at my worst and he is still around.
yeah. Wait, when was your wedding? What was your wedding date?
September 14th,
Okay.
2024.
So you officially quit 2 months after the wedding.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That would be
Talk
hard.
about a honeymoon.
That would be a major downer right afterwards. I mean, you can't help what comes after the wedding. You can plan your life away for this one day, and then yeah, you don't know what's going to happen afterwards. So, and
Yeah.
was that the first time that you admitted out loud that you thought you were addicted during that week, your wedding week, to the friend that called you out on the Kratom bag for everyone? Was he the first person you said that to out loud?
I think so, actually. I forgot to mention this, but it was like the series of, the woman really treating me like the drug addict at the shop really hit me, and then like the
Yeah.
withdrawal things. But it was after that, I think I'd taken a few doses and I went outside and was like doing the raking and all this stuff. And my eyes did the whole like,
Oh
and
God.
I just, that is when it hit me like, what is happening? Like my brain felt like it was like shaking. I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it, but I did not feel okay. And that was the first time I was like, whoa, I am not okay. This shit is not good for me. I don't even know
Mhm.
what this is doing to my brain, but I do
Yeah.
not feel okay anymore. And I
Yeah.
think this shit is bad for me. And that's when I
Yeah.
admitted it to myself. And then, yeah, I think you're right.
Right before.
I think the first time I said it out loud was the day before my wedding.
Wow. Okay. And then you were talking about when you started tapering and you were doing smaller doses at the end and just hating it. I think it sounds like you were gaining some of your self-awareness back. I feel like the self-awareness gets like taken with the kratom. It's just like kicked out of the the building, and then as soon as you stop taking less of it, you become more aware of like what you're doing, obviously. So it sounds like that was
Yeah.
coming back pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think that's very accurate. Your self-awareness just totally
Mm.
goes away and you just are focused on doing your thing. Not
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. So, talking about just kind of like open mindedness and self awareness, and you said you're from the Mount Shasta area. That's that area. If you're not familiar, it's in Northern California. It's known as a very like spiritual alternative community. There's all kinds of stories that some people very much believe about Lumerians being in the mountains and stuff. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look it up. It's very entertaining. But a lot of folks that live there are very spiritual and really kind of live in a different mindset. And I was just curious, like, do you think that community and that mindset may have affected your open mindedness towards this product?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's funny because I always consider I'm always, my mentality is like I'm like a shapeshifter in the matrix here because when I first met my husband and came up here, I was like, what the hell, these hippies? Like, I didn't even know what electronic music was. I was like, what is this world? they were doing combo ceremonies on our lawn, you know, like I was like, what? Everyone's like, you know, ayahuasca and all this. And so I've always kind of been like, and then they're like, oh, she's from Napa. Like she's like a city person. I'm like, that's
Oh my
funny because
God,
everyone
what a
actually
city.
thinks Napa is a country people. You know what I mean? It's all perspective.
I
But
know.
coming from this like rural area that in San Francisco, they're like, oh, you're from the country in Napa. And well, you come to Shasta and actually then you're a city person. So whatever. But so I've always felt this kind of like one foot in, one foot out. I also work in this like really bougie luxury, like, I mean, I work $1 million weddings, you know, where it's not for,
Wow.
I can't afford my own service. You know what I mean? So I feel like I'm kind of in two worlds where, and especially I used to grow weed and then go work this like bougie ass wedding. And I'm like, well, I'm just like an ambassador. Like, I'm here to show people that like the alternative ways don't mean you have to be like living in a van down by the river. You can actually be like a put together person who's motivated and part of life, but also experimental and like non judgmental, right? It's
Hmm.
I don't know. I mean, I can go there. Like, I kind of believe like God, aliens, space, like it's all connected, you know? And so that's just me. At the end of the day, we're not going to know till we die anyways. But yeah, the Shastafarians, man, they definitely have their own little way of being and it's interesting because I've always kind of prided myself on being discerning, like seeing how you know these plant energies have spirits attached to them, and I do believe that, you know, the when I moved up here, I just quit drinking and everyone was like, "Oh, the spirits, like, you know, like all this alcohol, like it attaches these entities to you." And I kind of started exploring that whole aspect and believe what you want. Like you said, look it up. It's interesting to read about. It's just like all this stuff is just interesting to think about and the possibilities, but that's always kind of been in the back of my mind, so I have felt cautious. Even with weed, I feel it's, like, very sticky, right? It's this sticky
Mm.
plant, I feel like it has this, like, sticky energy, and that's why it makes people kinda slower and, like I don't know, every plant has its thing, right? Tobacco, it can be used as, like, cleansing and ritualistic, but the natives aren't chain smoking outside of their job. That's not how they're using it. That's not used properly, you know? So it is interesting with this whole kratom thing because I feel like at first, yeah, all of my friends don't drink. That's like we're like, "Oh yeah, we don't drink." If somebody would come to one of our parties with a six pack, we'd be like, "Ew, like you're not welcome here." Like, you know, like kind of judgy. But then it's you want some like other like psychedelics, you know, it's weird how you make these exceptions for certain things. And so I think
Mhm.
the kratom kind of snuck in like that. And
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of entity is attached to that, but man, I've been feeling it. And I try not to get too in my head about it, but this has been a really heady one. Getting off this across the board, it seems like a lot of people have experienced that headiness. And I don't know what's attached to it. I don't know if I'm making it all up, but I do feel like there's yes, I've been influenced by the people around here, but I kind
Yeah.
of believe some of it. Believe there's a spiritual aspect to our existence and we're not aware of all the things around us. And I think that this particular medicine might just be meant to be like the coca leaf that's chewed on, like you said, for altitude sickness as a leaf form in a very, very, very small amount for that one thing. And we are just grinding it up and taking massive quantities, and we are not in the rainforest and we are not shaman, no matter what we want to believe and think. And I go back my one I did a yoga teacher training and my teacher was super I'll never forget this guy. He was like, "Look, like we don't teach kundalini. We're not all into this breath work." Like he just personally believed that's messing with spirits that he's like, "Look, I'm not a yogini from India and like I don't have the container to tap into this spiritual element. I don't know what that's going to invite in, and I recommend to all of you to be discerning and realize that you don't know what you're doing when you're playing with magic, and there's darkness and light, and sometimes the darkness can be it actually will be concealed as light. That's trying to trick you, you know? And that stuck with me forever. I'm like, he's right. It's like sometimes the darkness can trick us, man, and we can think it's all good and has good intentions, but everyone I've listened to on this podcast, almost everyone, I feel like has said this, that it sunk its claws into them. And like, what is that? Why do you I felt that too. Like when I've heard that, I was like, oh my God, I felt that. This like claws into you. Like, how could that not
Mhm.
be some kind of so anyway, I know I could go on about that, but
Yeah. No, I mean, absolutely. I've never heard about that with the breath work, like possibly letting in spirits because you're like trying to control the breath. And that's interesting. I've never heard of that.
you know, discernment. Like that's what I'm all about is like and with this experience, I'm like, I wasn't being very discerning, was I? You know, like we have everything we need right inside of us. We are created perfect the way we are, even with whatever hangups we got, you know, but like when we're reaching that's what it's like we're reaching for all these things to like show us something or reveal something or fix something and like nothing in us is broken, you know? And
Yeah.
sometimes those things can turn on us and it shows us a side of ourselves that's I don't even know if it's us or something acting through us. I don't have it all figured out, but
No, it's really
it's
cool though.
yeah, a little metaphysical and yeah, the heady I'm just now getting back to, like, my own reality, man, it has been so challenging to get over this heady thing that's, I don't know, taken over me, and the shame, I think, is you know, I'm pretty hard on myself and my self-talk and all that stuff, so that's something I'm working on, you know, I haven't reached out to a counselor myself just 'cause, well, money and all that stuff, but my partner and I do, couples therapy, and that's been really helpful, and listening to the podcast and talking to my friends and stuff, and that's helped me process a lot of it, but
That's great.
I think that I think counseling would be a good thing for me and just help just work on the mindset, the mind stuff now that the detoxing is maybe over or
Yeah.
nearing the end. I don't know.
Yeah.
It like,
Definitely.
do we know how long this stuff stays in our systems or
Well, I don't think that I'm not sure that you can test for it past, I don't know. I don't know if it goes away after like a week or a month in the body. I know that like cannabis can stay in the body for what, up to 90 days technically, like if you tested like your hair or something or your blood, but
Oh,
and if
yeah.
it's like long-term use. I know that like cannabis shows up long-term. I don't think kratom does, but I mean you mentioned about having like discernment. I think that one of the things that kratom does is it takes away your discernment. Like all you have to do is like choose it once and not know what's going on, and then it takes your discernment away forever, and then you just keep taking it and convincing yourself that this much is okay or this long is okay or this many times is okay, and then like you really think it is okay, and it just keep expanding what that amount that is okay is. It keeps changing, and it's like that morphs into total abandon of any discernment, but it's not. You're
100%.
not aware of that at that point. You're only aware of that first time you take it, and then after that it's just it takes your brain.
Yeah, and
So
that's what scared me the most is, like, what I mean, especially after watching what my husband went through having seizures and then hearing people on this talk about this possibly creating seizures. I mean,
yeah.
I don't think all that sometimes helps my mindset because 'cause I'm like, "Oh my god," but, you know, what did this do to my brain? And what I didn't know the whole time until the end, which I feel like an idiot about, is that I had no idea this was hitting my opioid receptors. And I feel like if I knew that, I might have thought differently because
Mm.
that's one thing that I've always kind of been like afraid of, you know, but it just knowledge is power. I think at the end of the day, I really don't know what the answer is because alcohol is sold. I think what we can do is like, number one, inform the youth, man, even if they don't want to
Yeah.
listen. It's just tell them, tell people. I mean, right away, I think when I came out of the fog, maybe at the beginning of this year, yeah, I told all of my friends, the friends that I've done it with, I'm calling them up, dude, I'm getting off this kratom stuff and it is not okay. And like, I'm just telling you, like, I know we are all taking it, but it fucked me up. And like, I want you to know that, and I started opening up the conversation and not calling anybody out, but
Yep.
bringing it up because what else can we do? You can't convince. I've had friends that have gotten 5 DUIs. Like some people never listen, but knowledge is power. We got to share our
Yep.
experiences and maybe that'll affect somebody because that's what's helped me is hearing other people's stories and that's real life. Sorry, but Google doesn't always convince me that that's real life. A human being is what convinces me that it's real life.
Yeah, totally. Totally. It's important to hear the stories. And even if it's just like one thing that you're like, oh, I did that, then you feel a little more normal because it's not just you sucking. It's someone else saying that like, oh yeah, that like this is a thing that happens and it happened to me too. And it's
Yeah.
just one of the side effects. Um, when you were going through the withdrawal process and you said sitting on the couch feeling horrible and just not sleeping and eating, like, did you have any coping methods or tools that you used during that time? Or did you just kind of like lie down and get through the day?
Ugh. I don't know if I did it the right way. I honestly just I mean, I just went there. I think also no, I was doing the hot showers, the sauna. I'll just say like do not detox off of kratom in Mount Shasta during the winter time because it's
Oh,
already when you're like feeling the best in your life, it still sucks being here usually. So I just don't recommend doing that. But I still went and did my snowboarding, which was it usually is like my happy place, and I was barely finding joy in that, but I made myself do that. The sauna is one of my favorite, going to the gym. I didn't even really want to work out, but the sauna was amazing. The hot showers and just I think part of it for me, everyone's different, was I already knew like I think I would have been burnt out last year, even if I didn't do the kratom. It was like a crazy year, like I've been
yeah.
pushing hard for many years and the whole seizure journey since 2020, I feel like I've just been like, I don't know, going hard, too hard, pushing myself to every limit. And this was like the tipping point. And I just kind of sat there and let it all go, let myself be a
Yeah.
blob because I've literally never let myself be a blob before. And there was something that was kind of like humbling about that. Like, I'm not Wonder Woman. I'm not, my whole family's always like, Wonder Woman, Violet's Wonder Woman. Like, you can do it all. Like, I'm the go getter. And it was just, guess what, everybody? I'm human like everybody else. And I don't have superpowers. And I'm broken right now, too, So
Yeah.
I wish I had a little more motivation, but I did yeah, the shower hot and cold showers, the sauna. I did take some supplements I found online, like 5-HTP, doing the lion's
Okay.
mane,
Oh,
all that
good.
kinda stuff, and, um,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah, I think
That's
I
good.
think I probably wasn't the poster child for what to do.
Well, you didn't know what to do. I mean, it sounds like you used Chat GPT to like figure out a plan. I mean, heck, I used Reddit. Like, I also did not have the guidance of a real person. And just for perspective, like, I told my doctor with lots of convincing from my boyfriend at the time. He's now my husband. Look, we still got married through all this. Yay, us.
Yay.
We made it. But he told me like, Lily, you got to tell your doctor what you're doing. Like maybe there's something she can help to help get you through it or like make it a little more comfortable. And I did not want to tell my doctor, but she prescribed me a short-term dose of gabapentin to help with sleeping and like the withdrawal processed, and I think it's mainly for like panic attacks and also seizures or something. So
Yeah.
I was annoyed. Like, I don't want to take anything else. I already ruined my life by taking this, but I did take that and it helped. And I also was in counseling just for myself. And I didn't tell my therapist that I was taking Kratom at first. And then eventually I did tell her, but she didn't know what it was. So she was kind of like, okay, like that sounds all right. Like she had no awareness. So if you do see a counselor, I didn't want to forget this. If you do end up seeing a counselor, try to seek out someone who is an addiction specialist because they're automatically just going to know more about that and like how your brain works and how it tends to work in general with this stuff. And they can help you they just know a little bit more, and you're not going to be like a blank slate mystery to them. If they have that addiction training, it really helps you out from the start. So something to look into.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So even Superwoman needs to take naps. It sounds like you're starting to slow down a little bit and accept that's acceptable. But did you said some of your motivation returned, but it's not all the way back. Did any of your like sensations return? You said you had low libido and stuff too. Like is everything coming back, or has it been slower than you expected? Like how's that going?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yes, I can enjoy sex again. Woohoo!
Good.
Yeah, no, I feel good in that aspect. I think at this point, and honestly, I can't really tell you. Maybe in January I started kind of feeling better, and then I had to go work a job in January, and I did it. I wasn't totally dying then, so I think it was just like a month of like really hating life, and then
Yeah.
just slowly getting better. I think around 3 months it was kind of like these little dips. But no, I feel pretty good now overall, and I'm just kind of like, I think, becoming aware. I mean, I'm 37. I'm not 25. I literally think I'm 20 years old, in my mind. I'm like, whatever, I'm not getting old, but it's like, yeah, it's okay to like, I'll go bust my ass in the yard, and then I'll just be like, you know what? I'm going to go take a break for 30 minutes and go drink some water and like hang out with my dog and sit in a chair. Like, there's nothing wrong with that, So I think I'm just coming to accept reality that my body can't push and push. And yeah, it's
Yeah.
like learning to be easier on myself and not say that there's something wrong with me, and
Good.
it's okay that I don't have all the ideas to grow my business this year and all that. It's like I think I'm just, you know what? I'm just giving myself some time to like be a person. I don't need to accomplish a bunch of stuff. Like I'm doing enough.
Yeah. Well, it's you were talking about before, like going, and not like stopping, and everyone called you Wonder Woman. And it made me think about I have this vacuum. I have a vacuum and it has this like max button on it, and you can like press it and you can use the max button for like, I don't know, 5 minutes or something, but it dies. Like if you use that too long, the thing just dies. But like the normal vacuum speed, you could vacuum for a really long time, no big deal. But it's like, we're a vacuum.
Yeah, oh my god, my vacuum, the Dyson, right? It's like you go
The
on max
Dyson, that's
speed
what it
and
is.
it dies in
Max
5
speed.
seconds, and you're like, "Wow, I love that." That is so true.
We're
Yeah, I mean, what
Dysons
did I
on max
think?
speed.
I don't know what I thought. I mean, I think it was hard when I have my stepsister is a counselor, not for addiction, but she's given me a lot of advice, and then my cousin, her mom was addicted to opiates and stuff like that, so when I finally, like, came clean to her, which I was so embarrassed to do because 'cause I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I look up to her and all this stuff," and she's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, man, like, what were you thinking?" And she's like, "Girl, it's gonna take." I was like, "When am I gonna feel better?" And she's like, "It's gonna take 6 months to a year, like, just be okay with that," like, and when I'm like, "A year?" But I'm
Right.
also glad she kinda gave me that pre-warning of, like, "Okay, things take time, like, it takes time to recharge the batteries, right?" But, like, our body is amazing, and it can heal itself, and we just gotta be patient sometimes, but, like, I know I am healing and I know I can. So I
Sure.
really do keep focusing on that positive aspect of like, I mean, with the alcohol too, where it took me 3 years to really feel like good off of the alcohol. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I'm just keep reminding myself about that. Like, okay, I'm in it
Oh,
for the
yeah.
long haul. Yep, there's days where I'm like tired and I'm driving by that little smoke shop and I'm like, man, I could just take a kratom right now and go like bust a move today. And then I'm like, all I have to think about is the worst winter of my entire life and be like, hell no, I'm never going through that ever again.
Good.
I would
Yeah.
rather do anything than do that.
Yeah, aside from remembering the worst winter ever, do you have any other, like, tips or tricks or, like, mind games that you play with yourself when you have those moments of craving or thoughts of use? Like, do you have any things that you do, practices?
I mean, I have my little list, I have a list in my phone of like things like go for a walk, do yoga,
Oh,
go to
good.
the gym, read a book. I mean, if all else fails and I'm like, I don't want to do anything, I don't want to go to the gym, I don't want to do this, and then I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna watch some show on my. I love the show Schitt's Creek. It literally,
It's so
it's so
funny.
dumb. It's so dumb, but it's so funny, and it's 30 minutes, so it's okay.
Great.
If I just want to like tap out and just laugh and like pull myself out of
Yeah.
reality, I think that I know it's disassociating, but I'm allowing that disassociation because it's better than drinking or smoking weed or doing kratom. So that's
Oh,
what I'm
absolutely.
and I'm
Yeah.
also good at getting myself distracted. I'll just be like, "Okay, just get up and like clean the kitchen." And then that'll lead to like do the laundry, do this, and then I look at my cute little dog and he's like, "Take me somewhere." I'm like, "Okay, fine." So that kinda helps, but I think I've heard people talk about that too. It is helpful having, like, a list, and I've made them. I mean, I like to write things down, so I have little affirmations, like, one in front of my desk right here. It's, "Stay in the moment, focus on one step at a time, give your worries and concerns to the angels, trust in love and wisdom working through you." And I have stuff like that written on little cards that I put on my fridge and I put next to my bed and stuff so I can just. I know it's dorky, but it works for me, so.
It's perfect. We all have to have our dorky phrases that help us. Um, well, now, I mean, it sounds like you're possibly embracing slowing down a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe now you can hang out with the Shastafarians and talk about your nervous system.
Oh, yeah, I've been planting the seeds. There's one girl who, and I know we could go on forever about this, so you tell me when we have to end, but
We're good.
but I will say there's one girl that I see in the sauna that has been living with chronic pain for the last 10 years, and she last year got hit by a drunk driver on her bicycle, which is freaking horrible, hit and run. This poor woman, she's young, she's like 43, has had all this body stuff, and I mean, one day she's like, "How you doing, Violet? Like, you don't seem like yourself." And I'm like, "Dude, I took this kratom," and I told her all about the kratom thing. I'm like, "I've been off of it for 2 weeks. I feel like I'm gonna die. I hate myself." And she's like, "Man," and so she'd check in with me every time I would see her. And I was like, and one day I was like, what's fucked up is like 3 months ago, I might have told you that you should take this stuff because it would take away your pain and it might give you the energy to get out of bed and all this stuff. And I'm like, and look at what it's done to me, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm probably never gonna touch that ever," but, like, yeah, she just was a cool soundboard, but I
Mhm.
don't know, I just can't figure it out, like, who is it good for? Like, maybe people who I just don't know, like, do some people just like my husband, he has self-control, so he probably could take it tomorrow and then not take it again, but, like, why? What's the point? Like, I just don't understand, and it really what really grinds my gears is, like, hearing these statistics about the kava kratom shops and how, like, basically, these people are just making their money off of being legal drug dealers, and it just makes me sad, and I
Yeah.
know we all gotta make a dime. I mean, I'm making my money off of I don't know, people spending way too much money on one day and being really superficial about their clothes. But like at the end of the day, I think that's a little less harmful than I just don't know. I don't know how to
Yeah.
feel about it and what the answer is, but kind of
Well,
bums me out.
I think that where kratom naturally grows, it's like the Southeast Asia area, and the people do chew on like the whole leaf. They just pick a leaf off the plant and they like chew it like they're chewing gum all day. Just like in the coca leaf, they chew on the coca leaf for elevation sickness. The kratom leaf is chewed on for energy to work in the fields all day. And I think that is probably the purpose is like leave that plant there and leave the leaf alone. Don't grind it
Yeah.
up. Don't extract it. Just let it be a freaking leaf and leave it there and sure, chew on it. But I don't think people are overdosing on that leaf there. I feel like I watched a documentary, maybe it was on Vice, and it was about the kratom plant. And I don't think there's as much. I'm going to have to watch it again now after knowing all that I know. But I think that the addiction rates of kratom are a lot lower where it's actually from. And that unfortunately we're
Okay.
getting the super processed, like ground up, extracted versions, and we're getting addicted because it's not just like a freaking tree anymore. So maybe the purpose is that, and we should not have messed with it and taken it over here and hijacked the whole point of it, as we often do in America.
Yeah. Go big, right?
Yeah, go big. So let's see, just kind of wrapping up, and you're in recovery at this point. You've gone through the actual withdrawals and you're more in the kind of the mental phase and maintenance of just getting back to whatever your normal or neutral is. Do you have a friend that you reach out to when you have those moments? You said you had that one friend that checked up on you during the detox. Like, do you check in with her?
I do. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she's been my lifelong friend and will be. She lived next door to my grandma when we met when we were 4 years old and been together ever since. Yeah. Yeah. I love the voice memos because you can check in with people and just be like, maybe it's just convenient that she's going through a lot of the same things. We're in numerology, we're on the same like year number in our lives, so I feel like each year we're kind of going through similar things. And
Mhm.
so we don't have to even talk, because sometimes she's like leaves me a voice memo like, I don't even want to talk today, but like I just want you to know I love you. I'm checking up on you or whatever. And I'll
Yeah.
leave those with her too. But yeah, I feel I journal a lot actually. I check in with my friends, my family. I do have a lot of family and I'm close with all of them. So I still have never told my mom. I'm too embarrassed to. And
Hmm.
she's got no addiction, never has. And I don't know. I kind of hate it, but I haven't decided. I just don't know. I just feel like she wouldn't even understand. But I feel guilty about that. But other people I reach out to and then journaling. Like I've now kind of just I've always had that as a practice, but I've really dove into that. Like first thing in the morning, I just wake up and like just try and write 3 pages and just let it all out. And even when I'm pissed off or whatever, something comes up, I'll just, even if it's in my phone, because there's the journal app now, you can just talk to yourself and, just get it out. Like that
Yeah.
helps me. That or exercise. I'll go to the gym and I'm kind of fortunate because I work for myself and also not fortunate because I have a lot of time, but I have that flexibility to be like, I'm going to go to the gym right now. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Tuesday. You know what I mean? So
Great.
those things help definitely. And, yeah, I don't
Good.
know about the support group thing. I just feel
Mhm.
like it would probably help, but I'm just kind of stubborn and I haven't wanted to do that yet. So,
Yeah, fair. Well, I know that,
yeah.
at the end of the day, it's your recovery story and you get to decide who to tell it to and who you share it with. And some people don't tell their families right away and, or don't at all. It'll happen when it needs to happen and you get to decide when that is. I didn't tell my parents till almost 2 years after I stopped, and it came up naturally in conversation, and I was also embarrassed and ashamed beforehand, and it comes out when you need it to, so don't feel too bad about that. You have to understand what happened to you first, and you're still figuring out what the hell just happened to you, right?
Yeah, true. That's very true. I appreciate that. Thanks.
Yeah, yeah. Any other tips you wanna give someone that might be trying to come off of kratom or just stopped and is going through the heady process that you've been in recently?
I guess just, yeah, stay strong and I don't know, just keep listening to all the episodes and you won't feel alone, but like, don't give up, like willpower is a muscle and we just need to work it out sometimes. And whatever you need to do to like get to that next moment, right? Like some people say that it's like living one day at a time. Well, sometimes it's like 1 second at a time, one breath at a time, and time takes its time, unfortunately. But,
Yeah.
like, yeah, I think there is a lot of strength. I always feel stronger when I come out the other side. And I try and remind myself that, like, willpower is a muscle and I'm just working out my willpower muscle. And, like, it's weak right now, but, like, I'm going to be strong again. And, it's like we need to do it for ourselves, but for other people too. It's like we can be the change we wish to see.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for sharing your story, Violet. I know it's gonna help a lot of people, and it's always great too to have more female voices on here 'cause yeah, there's just not that much talk about it and not as many women are talking about it. So I appreciate you coming forward and sharing everything. And even though you might not feel like you're fully, fixed or whatever you want to call it, like you're on the journey now and you're going to have different things to say and think about this a year afterwards and later. So you're welcome to come back on here and report back to us later on if you want to share your process later too. But thanks again for coming on and really grateful to have you.
Yeah, thank you. Me too. Super grateful and thanks for being the one to bring me here.
Yay. Came full circle. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, all right.